I think we've got quite a little bit to get through today, so we're going to hand over to Stephen now, who will introduce what we're going to talk about. So over to you, Stephen.
Great, thanks. Monica, if you can keep an eye on the lobby, if anyone is still coming in, and just admit them.
All good.
Brilliant, thanks. So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to this month's webinar, this belated February webinar. So we're focusing on navigating DCS 2.0 once again today. And Claire, our product manager, will be going through a few important notes on timings for migrating to the new platform, and we'll be doing a live demo for us as well. I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing how the new platform is progressing and how it'll be a much more efficient platform for HEIs going forward. So just the usual housekeeping, the session is being recorded and we'll share it with registrants later in the week. You can send the recording on to colleagues who couldn't attend or revisit any of the content yourself if you need to. And we will also send out slides and Q&A to all registrants next week. You'll all stay muted throughout the session, but you can use the chat at the top of the Teams window, as you've been doing, to submit questions or comments at any time, and we'll monitor it throughout. And we'll also have an open Q&A session at the end. Audio is available through your computer speakers or by phone, but if you experience poor sound quality, you can switch to the phone audio via device settings in Teams, which is the 3 little dots at the top of the screen. Just choose device settings and you should find it there. So presenting today, you should probably already know us, but just in case, I'm Stephen, a product support advisor at CLA, and Monica is the other one. And we're also joined by Claire, who's our product manager as well. So onto the agenda for today. So as mentioned, we will be covering an introduction to DCS 2.0, and Claire will take us through all the key dates and the time for the migration. And then we'll speak about some of the DCS 2.0 new and improved features. And then, of course, at the end, we will have our Q&A. So over to you, Claire.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen. And hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. And apologies that this webinar was moved back. I was off sick for a couple of weeks, so we had to move some things around, but really appreciate you accommodating that. And just before I dive into the demo of the new features and functionality, I want to take a couple of minutes just to run through the freeze and the migration plan again, seeing as the freeze will be in place from tomorrow. I sincerely hope that most of you, if not all of you, on this webinar already know what the plan is, but in the case that you don't, please do listen very carefully to the next couple of points. So the current DCS will be read-only from tomorrow until the day we launch the new DCS on the 16th of March. So Imogen discussed the best time to migrate the DCS with a handful of HEIs last year, and it was agreed that this period was the most sensible time. So you will have access to the current DCS for this period. You just won't be able to action anything. So that's any requests made by a reading list management system, so Talis, Keylinks, or Leganto, they will fail. But Leganto is an exception in that any requests that will fail during the freeze will eventually go through once the connection is restored on Monday, the 16th of March. So on this vein as well, the academic request form will also fail. And the reason we've put this failure in place is because we need to prevent any new content requests being made in the system whilst we migrate the data, as it would be lost. So we do have documentation that can be shared with academics and anyone else that you think may need to know, which I've included on the next slide. And this is also on the DCS dashboard and will also be shared at the end of this session. You will also not be able to make new HEIs orders during the freeze, but any that are in progress will continue to be processed by the BL, and the CLA will hold on to them until we're ready to load them into the new system on Monday the 16th. So please bear with us with these, as I'm sure you can imagine there will be a lot to do come Monday the 16th, so we will do our best to get these into the system as quickly as possible. And one more note on HEIs orders. If an order happens to be fulfilled at, say, 4 p.m. tomorrow, Stephen and Monica will aim to get this into the DCS for you to approve ahead of the 5 p.m. freeze cutoff. So please be as diligent as you can in accepting orders tomorrow. But of course, I realise you're all very, very busy. So if you can't, that's okay. These orders will migrate in the same status as they were at 5 o'clock tomorrow, or as they are at 5 o'clock tomorrow. But if we can get them tied off ahead of the cutoff, that will neaten things up for us. So next point, students will not be affected by the migration. Links will remain the same and they will continue to work. and the new DCS will be live on Monday the 16th of March, and the URL will be the same as the current DCS. So if you try and access the current DCS, you'll just be redirected to the new platform come 9 o'clock on the 16th of March. All data from the current DCS will be migrated to the new DCS, so there's nothing that you need to do other than set a new password when the new platform goes live. And we will be sending communication about first-time login very soon, but it is incredibly straightforward. The Cortext Advanced Reader will no longer be integrated from the 12th of March, but this doesn't mean that students can't use it to access their content. It will just be more of a manual process. So we have created a user guide for you to share with your students to explain this, and I hope to be able to share it with you when the webinar deck is sent out. It is currently with our designer with marketing, because as much as I can put information on a page, I can't make it look pretty. So that's what marketing are doing, and we will send this out as soon as we have it. All of the information that is currently live, so new knowledge base articles, and the freeze and migration dates are all accessible via the knowledge base, and I've also linked them from the DCS announcements page on the dashboard. So I know not all of you check this regularly, but I would encourage you to do so over the next couple of days. There won't be any changes to the DCS API at this point. We have, of course, been in touch with all of our third parties, so reading list management systems and library management systems, and also any HEIs that happen to have a bespoke connection with us. They've all been tested over the past year in the test environment and confirmed everything is working as we would expect it to. So hopefully this will all go seamlessly when we migrate to production on the 16th. And finally, before we move on, I want to be very transparent. There will, of course, be teething issues when we launch. A migration of this size is such a huge undertaking. And of course, we have not been able to check all 2+ million content requests manually. So if you do find that anything is incorrect, or if you have any queries or concerns about your account once you've logged into the new platform, please contact product support and we will endeavour to get things fixed for you right away. And again, please do bear with us with this. We do have a dedicated period of hypercare, of course, with our developers for a very generous period after the launch, and that's in place so that we can make sure we fix any bugs or issues that arise as quickly as we can. So we have a couple of documents that I mentioned. Monica, if you're okay to just pop those links into the chat for me, that would be great. So the top one is our key dates. That is everything I've just spoken about, but in a kind of a 2-page PDF document that can be shared with academics, students, anyone else in your library team that may not have already seen it. And then the second one is a link to our knowledge base, which has the DCS 2.0 FAQs for the digital content store. Please do give us a shout if you can't access those links. I don't know if the kind of the shorter links will work, Monica. So if you could get the links that I sent to you yesterday just from the chat, if those don't work, let us know and we'll use those.
Sure.
Okay, so I appreciate that was a lot of information. I hope you have all heard it before, but I'm going to pause just for a moment to monitor the chat, and please do send any questions into there before I move on to the new features and functionality. The links work. Great. Thank you, Kate. Okay, this is promising. It looks like this isn't a huge surprise to anyone, so this is great, but I will just give you another couple of minutes to put questions in. So should we be deleting any EHES content requests which have been rejected? You don't need to. You can if you want to, but basically anything that is in the DCS in its current state, it will just migrate in that same state. So if you want to have a spring clean before tomorrow, yes, you can, but you don't need to. Yep, you will have access for the whole day tomorrow. So the freeze isn't going to be in place until 5 p.m. And just a point on this freeze, you'll still have access to the DCS from the 6th to the 16th. You just won't be able to do anything in it. So yes, tomorrow from 9 to 5, you can access everything. You can place EHES orders. And Stephen and Monica will kill me for saying this, but place them to your heart's content if you want to get them done before the freeze. But everything will be business as usual tomorrow until 5 o'clock. And then from that point, you'll still be able to log in, you'll still be able to get data from it. You just won't be able to make any new content requests because they will be lost. So that's a very good question, Daniel, on the academic request form. No, there won't be a useful error message, I'm afraid. It will just fail. But again, that PDF that we shared of the key dates, you can please feel free to share that with your academics. Again, it's been on the dashboard for a couple of weeks if you feel that that would be useful. But if anyone does get in touch with you to say, crisis, this isn't working, please just explain that it's due to the DCS migration. But you can share that PDF with anyone you think would find it useful. And orders placed via Leganto during the freeze, they will be carried over. So it will fail kind of immediately, but it will just continue to fail on a loop until Monday morning of the 16th, and then it will go through. So say if you have, I don't know, 200 requests that have been placed during this freeze, they will all come through in bulk on Monday. That was discussed with Leganto. That was how they preferred to deal with things. Talis and Keylinks decided that they just wanted to have a full failure. And on those reading lists, there will be an error message. So users that try to create those requests will have a prompt that will tell them this isn't possible at this time. And again, please do point anyone that has any issues to those documents we have just shared, or of course, direct them to us. Okay, I am going to move on to the new features and functionality, but Stephen and Monica, if you could just continue to monitor those, that would be great, just if anyone's got any extra questions. So we're now going to spend the rest of the webinar showing you and talking through the new features and functionality that we have in 2.0. So I'm going to run through these with you in the next couple of slides, and then we'll demo them for you in the test environment. We have also written user guides for all of these new features, which can be found on our knowledge base. So Monica, again, if you wouldn't mind just sharing that knowledge base link, if it wasn't the second one. I think the first one you shared was FAQs, but there's another link for new features and functionality. So I will, of course, go through them in as much detail as I think is necessary, but all of these user guides are written in detail, so you can have a look at those if anything is confusing or you want to spend a little bit of more time looking at them. So the DCS now has tags for reflow and alt text. So if you want to upload scans which have reflow tagging and or alt text applied, you can add this as a tag in the DCS for all users to see. This is for public content, of course, not for private. And if you're not sure whether the content has either of these tags, the DCS will scan it and detect it for you. So publisher supplied content, which is formerly Born Digital, which I will come to in just a moment, will have all of these tags applied automatically. So we hope that this adds another layer of visibility to the accessibility standards of the content within the DCS repository. And please don't feel like you need to write all this down. As I say, I will go through it in detail on the platform in just a moment, and all of this is written in the knowledge base for you to refer back to. You can also bulk delete requests in progress if you would like to, so this may come in handy for tidying up your accounts. And next, we have implemented a page range checker that will allow you to check and amend content generated directly from publishers. So you'll notice here that I'm referring to publisher supplied content instead of Born Digital. So we have changed the label and also changed crowdsourced content to HEI supplied content. But this is purely a simple change in the UI as we feel it represents the content more clearly. Everything remains the same. So in terms of the page range checker, we had reports from users that page ranges for publisher supplied content could be slightly off because of offsets, and the page range that you were looking for in your request didn't match what was being generated. So this range checker allows you to not only preview the content before you publish it, but also allows you to make changes to the page range if you need to. You will also know that DCS1 has department and subject fields currently, but in DCS2, you'll be able to add school and or faculty to your courses, and these are entirely optional, and anything that was listed as a subject or a department in DCS1 will be mapped over to the same fields in DCS2. DCS users now have the option to check permissions in bulk at the end of the academic year without having to rely on CLA to do this for them. So that is the check in August, I think, 1st of August, that we do for you to make sure all of the permissions that were excluded or allowed in the previous academic year are in fact the same, and you can go ahead and use them for the next year. So you don't have to rely on us for that this year. You can do that all yourself, and I will show you how to do that shortly. There are also different user roles and user types in the DCS now, so you can toggle between HEI user, student, or lecturer, and there are also 3 different roles within DCS users themselves. So we have DCS admins who can effectively do anything in the DCS, DCS users who can do most things in the DCS, and then DCS viewers who can just view the system and not action anything. And just a note here that all users currently in the DCS 1.0 will be migrated to the highest user type of DCS admin, and then you can make changes to these if you wish once we are live in the DCS 2.0. You'll now receive a code from Microsoft every time you log into the DCS, so you'll be automatically logged out of a session after 12 hours. So when you come to log in again, you will get this code. And I realise that some of you may groan at the addition of MFA, but it has made our IT team very happy that we've added this extra level of security. The action menus look slightly different in the new DCS, but all actions remain the same, and I'll walk you through these in a moment. It's just a way of tidying up the user interface and make it less cluttered. Same goes for the next piece of functionality. You will need to save each section of the content request individually, and this has replaced the save request button at the bottom of the content request, but this doesn't mean that your requests don't save. They just save earlier in the process after each section is complete. And again, I will show you this in practice in just a minute. There are a few very minor changes that have been made to the license compliance verification section. So we have added the NLA license for newspaper content and removed special license provision as that was introduced in COVID and is no longer valid. So any content requests you have that were assigned a special license provision will be migrated under covered by CLA license, but they will need reassigning once we've rolled over and permissions have been rechecked after August. So don't worry about any of those now. Of course, there'll be nothing under the NLA license, but anything that will change in the new academic year, you can deal with after August the 1st. You can also now personalize the tables in the DCS. So we appreciate some of them have a lot of data and you may prefer to hide or remove some columns as you wish. And these preferences are limited to your personal accounts and will be saved when logging out of the DCS. So when I say saved to your personal accounts, if you make changes for your DCS, it won't affect your colleagues. So you can all have your accounts looking as you would like. So you can just see the data that is relevant to you. And finally, we have another feature to help make the DCS platform itself more accessible. And we have added an optional toolbar to the platform for you to use as you wish. So I am now going to come out of this, stop presenting, and share my screen with you. So bear with me. Okay, could I please get some thumbs up if you are able to see the new DCS dashboard? Amazing, thank you. So again, I'm not going to do a full demo of the DCS. This was done in January, and I have linked to the webinar at the end of this webinar, and it's also on the DCS homepage. So if you haven't looked at it, please do have a look at it, and it will show you the new platform in more detail. Today, I am just going to go through those new features and functionality that I have just talked about. So as you can see, this is our dashboard. It looks very similar. If any of you haven't watched the demo and don't know what it looks like, you can see here that it looks really similar to the initial one. Everything is where you'd expect it to be. It just looks a little bit cleaner and tidier. So if I come into our completed requests and choose one I prepared earlier, you can see that we have a content request, which looks again the same. We have our label for released, our ID, and then you will see here we have little edit tabs, which some of them are grayed out because this is a published request, but this shows you the way that you will edit each section and save. So if I come to license verification and decide that I need to change something, I click this edit button, come to our menu, and then I can override the options to choose if this is changed, for example, to primary license. So I'm just showing you here the edit functionality. We don't need to go too far deep into changing license compliance, but that's what you will need to do. And then if you don't want to make any changes, you can simply click cancel. But usually when this is a live content request, you'll have the option to save, and then the next level will kind of open up for you to change. So you won't be able to add course and lecturers until you have done your license compliance verification section. And just on this note, as I mentioned, we can see we've got our license compliance options, which should all look very familiar to you. We just have the addition of the NLA license. And again, as always, if you hover over the tooltip, it will tell you when to use each particular license provision. And we have just moved special license provision as that was COVID only. So it seemed like it was about time to get rid of that one. Great, so I'm going to come out of this and move further down. You can see we have our extent limits section, which looks very similar. The DCS will tell you if an item has already been used. You can confirm within extent limits, and we will also be able to see the percentage of the work used. Now down to source content, you can see here, as I mentioned, this is no longer Born Digital and crowdsourced. These labels are now publisher supplied and HEI supplied. And you can also see here that we have tagging and alt text. So again, as I mentioned, all publisher supplied content will be automatically detected. So it's up to the publishers what they supply us with. So if there are these tags detected, it will say yes. If they're not, it will say no. You can see down here that we have added our own document and the user themselves has decided that yes, this has tagging and it has alt text. And they have added it here. So that gives an extra level of visibility for users. They can decide, yes, I want something that has all the tags. If it's against something that doesn't, you have that option now. So coming back to publisher
supplies. Just to
supplies.
jump in quickly, Claire, someone's just asked what tagging means. Just wanted to clarify if that had answered the question or not.
Sorry, so yes, reflow tagging.
I can't see who asked it.
I mean, someone else actually might be better placed to say what that means and how you apply it. But I believe it's for readability of PDFs.
Yes, it means adding clear labels to content to describe its accessibility features. So a tag is a marker that tells you something important about a document, for example, whether it's more accessible for students using assistive tech, or it's usually, as Claire said, accessibility features based. And DCS2, it's usually reflow tagging. So a tag that indicates whether a text can be zoomed into or out of. You can view it in different screen sizes, so it helps adaptability as well.
Cool, thanks, Monica. So yeah, just to be clear, tagging will always be reflow tagging in this instance. So thank you so much for explaining that. And then we have here again our menu, which you're used to seeing. So you have the option to preview the file, and then our new feature is our range check. So if we click this button, you will see that your content will open in this PDF viewer. You have your page range up here, which is taken from the content request, and you will also see down the left-hand side, all of these pages are highlighted. So if you decide that you want to make a change here and you think, actually, I want pages 1 to 25, you can change that. And again, you will see on the left-hand side, it's only pages 1 to 25 that are highlighted. Alternatively, you can deselect and select from here, depending on what you need. And a really important point here is that this is trust-based. Of course, you can see you do have the option to select all of the pages in the book. We trust that you won't do that. This is purely for you to make sure that the pages that have been generated by the publisher match exactly what you need. So we completely understand it might deviate slightly from the page range you have selected, but it should still remain in that 10%. So if you need to shift it back and forth slightly, that's what this is for. It's not for selecting the whole book. And you can see that we've got some features in here. You can zoom in and out, and you can also get rid of this bar. And when you're done, you can simply save, cancel, or close the reader. So I will come out of that, and the page will freeze, which is really, really handy for this. Sorry about that. Maybe if I close it, there we go. We will come back to our content request. So hopefully that will alleviate some of the annoyances with publisher supplied content not giving you the page range that you need. And of course, you still have your preview button as well, as you do for HEI supplied content also, and you have the option to delete. So these are the new action menus, as I mentioned, and just something else before I move on, you'll see that this looks slightly different, that we have a pending sources section. So this is when, for example, you have an EHES order that's processing. That will take a couple of days, as you're used to, and then once the order is completed, it will move down to here, and you will just have your HEI supplied sources. And then we also have the addition of other page ranges. So anything showed in these tables will just be the exact page range you have asked for. And then if you want to expand this section, any other page ranges for the same ISBN will be shown here. Okay. Next, I am going to move on to table management. So if I come into courses, you can see that these tables are quite large and sometimes you have to scroll to see everything. We can see here, I mean, this is a very light filled out course as it's just our CLA testing environment. If you're not interested in these pick lists, you simply click the menu, which you can find in any of the title tabs. Click on Manage Columns and say, I'm not interested in faculty, school, department, or subject. And that's how I want my table to look. And these changes will remain when you log out and back in again. And as I mentioned, they only apply to your account. This won't change any of your colleagues' accounts. If we come now to requests in progress, we can delete in bulk. So this again will look very similar. We have all of our statuses, our IDs, and the dates they were added. If you want to delete in bulk for whatever reason, you just click this button here. You have the option to select all from the top bar, or you can select individually. It's worth noting here that you can't bulk delete new academic requests. That's because they will have come through from a reading list management system or the academic request form and haven't been assigned yet. So we don't want you to be able to get rid of those by mistake. And you also can't bulk delete any requests that have a pending EHES order. So everything has to be in as kind of a complete a state as it can be for you to delete in bulk. We also have our pick lists. So if you come down to My Institution, which just in and of itself is a lot more user-friendly, you have all of your account data, your settings, integrations, so that's your British Library configuration, API configuration, etc., all on different tabs. It's not all squashed onto one page. And if you want to add pick lists, you come to your settings page and scroll down to HEI field configuration, and you can see here that we have different tabs for all of your pick lists, and you can add from this page. And those are entirely optional. As I mentioned, you don't need to add them, and anything that is already in the DCS 1.0 for departments and subject, they will be mapped over here. So if you have that data in the original DCS, you can expect to see them here when you move to the new one. We also have a slightly different look for users. You can see that they're split now between HEI users, lecturers, and students. Students, of course, you will only have in your DCS account if you use manual authentication. Of course, it's just a testing institution, so we've got everything populated absolutely everywhere so that we can test it. And if you want to add someone new, just be aware that this Add New button will correspond to the tab that you're on. So if I click Add New, this system assumes I want to add a new student. If I'm on lecturers, there'll be a lecturer, and an HEI user will be an HEI user here. And just drilling further down, we have HEI user roles, which I spoke to you about. So we have DCS admins who have full access, including to institutional settings, and DCS admins can also make EHES orders. DCS users can do most of the things admins can do, but they won't be able to necessarily make a SEPS order, which I will come to in a minute, as that is a new feature that is coming later. And then we have a DCS viewer that can view everything in the DCS, but they can't action anything. So they can't create content requests, they can't make EHES orders, but they can see the data if you want them to. And just one more reminder, everybody currently in the DCS will be migrated as the highest user role as DCS admin. And then once you're live in the system, if you want to make any changes, you simply come to your users page, hit edit, and then you can just change them here to whichever user type or user role that you want. Next is our check all permissions. So that can be found here in the left-hand navigation pane. So come the end of the year in August, to start your check, so this will check absolutely all active requests. Deleted and archived requests won't be checked, but everything that you currently have active will be rechecked for permission statuses. And it's as simple as clicking Start Check, confirming that, and your check will land in the queue, as you can see here, and you'll get a little toast message in the right-hand corner saying that this has started. You can leave this page and go and do something else if you want to. Obviously, the time it takes will completely depend on how many requests you have. It will be a lot quicker if you have a couple of hundred than if you have 10,000, say. But that is as easy as it is, and you will see that when the report has completed, you have a download report button, so you can look at the results and see what needs changing. And as was the case with DCS 1.0, anything that is different will show on your dashboard under your license queries, your license box. So any license that are included or license status unknown will show here, so you know which ones you then need to change and update for the newest academic year. And you'll see down here, so I've come out of that check permissions page, but I've still got a notification that the process has completed successfully. So you now know you can come back here and download the report, and the user that has run the report will also receive a confirmation email. And then finally, we have our Recite Me toolbar. So you don't need to be on the dashboard to load this up, but I will just come back here for ease. You can click on this Get Help button, and then Accessibility Tools, and then Recite Me will show, and you have a bunch of different options that you can change. So if you want to have different background colors and you want to move to different pages, you can do. You can switch dark mode on. You can change the size of your cursor. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you heard that. I've got the audio on as well. So you can make all of these different changes. And of course, if you don't want them, you just can click this X. And yes, I wish to get rid of them, and it will return to its default state. Again, Recite Me is completely optional. You don't need to use it. But if you do make changes, it will only show on your account and will appear on every single page of the DCS. So I think that is about it for the new features and functionality. So I will stop sharing my screen and give you all a few minutes to ask any questions. If there's anything anyone wants to see in particular that you're interested in or you have any questions on, I can show you that now as we have a little bit of time left. But yes, I will stop talking and give you all some time to ask questions.
Couple already. Laurie has said, I believe the checking permissions manually was an automatic process in August for existing scans. Has that changed?
No, so it used to be that we would do it for you. So now we still can do it for you. That's fine if you would rather not, but we just decided that it would be more useful for HEIs to have that option to do it themselves. And you can actually run it at any time in the year if you want to, but we wouldn't recommend doing that because it's more admin. So if you were to create a content request and it's covered by the CLA license, and for example, the permissions were to change, we wouldn't want you to lose access to that piece of content, which is why we only ever do it for the academic year. So yes, it was automatic in the sense that we would do it for you, but you now have the option to do it yourself if you would like to. I think, yes, we can definitely send out a reminder in August, Helen. I think Stephen and Monica, remind me, you normally do that anyway, don't you? So we can do that.
Yes.
Great, okay.
Also, just to be annoying and jump back to an earlier question.
Oh,
Sorry, just to break in. Earlier, someone asked if users would get an error message when trying to use the academic request form. They do. There'll be a little window that pops up just saying, requests can't be made at this time. Please try again later, or something to that effect.
Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Stephen.
okay. Will it be will it just be a failure message, Stephen, or did you say there's a specific error message that
There's a little window that will just say, you can't do it at this time.
But very little information on why. So yes, if anyone asks, you can let them know it's because of the migration. And actually, while we're here, I wanted to share, I kind of touched on it, but it is quite an exciting new piece of functionality that is not going to be ready for March the 16th. So we have 2 launches. We are going to be doing this later in April, but you will have the option, I don't know if any of you eagle eyes spotted this, but we will have a SEPs toggle. So anyone that uses second extract permission services, you will be able to integrate this now with the DCS. So at the moment, obviously, you can tell the system that you are making a second extract purchase, but this is all done outside of the DCS through the website. But when we have this functionality live, as I say, in around mid-April, you will be able to make that purchase directly from your content request, which we hope will save you some time. We know not all of you use second extract, but for those that do, Susan, great to see you, very excited about that. I think it is going to be a very nice piece of functionality. So we are working on that at the moment, and we are testing as we speak. But as I say, it was never planned for the 16th of March launch. It will come a little bit later. Also got a question from Trevor, will the rollover process change? Nope, rollover will remain exactly as it did before. Kevin, I cannot talk about the pricing for SEPs, only that I know that publishers set the price per page, and there's absolutely nothing that CLA can kind of do to change that. That's about all I know on SEPs pricing, unless you had something more specific in mind. I can pass it on to... Yes, the price per page will be in the DCS. So again, I can't demo this for you because it is only in our dev environment, but it will look exactly the same as when you go to our website. So there'll be a purchase SEPs button. You'll click purchase. You'll run through your details as normal, and then there will be a pop-up that will say you are paying X amount because it's X amount of students times price per page times course pack types, I think it is. That will all be visible within the DCS interface. Yeah, so nothing else will change in terms of what you have in your, we call it internally your entitlements account. That will all remain the same. So the way that you still download data, you can still do it in the way that you want. You don't need to use the integration. It's purely a time saver if you would like to. So nothing will change about the current process. If you still want to use it and download your spreadsheets from the website, that's absolutely fine. You can continue to do that. This is just a nice shortcut if you would like to make use of it. And this will all be manual. So you can have a SEPs account and not integrate it with the DCS. We simply just toggle this to disable and you carry on as you are. Will we be able to do a SEPs request for just the pages of this extract that are over the 10% limit, not the whole extract? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Evelyn. Do you mean if you've used 8% and then you have another request for 4%? I think that still counts as an entire second extract. It doesn't matter whether you've got 4% or the full 10%. It will just be exactly as it was before. And just to draw your attention, I'll give you another couple of minutes if anyone wants to ask anything else. Just to draw your attention to the current dashboard, we do have everything that I have mentioned today on here. So the key information about the transition can be seen here. We have a link to the FAQs, and we also have a link to the January webinar where I did a demo of the full platform. And of course, if anything is unclear or you have any questions, please do contact us at the support email address. And I think you can all agree that when you tab between the two, the new interface does look a lot nicer and less cluttered. And I should mention as well, in terms of clutter, you can minimize all of these again, as you were able to. So you don't need to clog up your dashboard with information you may not necessarily want to read. But I really would recommend, if you haven't already, just having a look at this information here and getting in touch if you have any questions. Okay, and finally, just because I said I would share this, we just have another couple of links. Again, I feel like I'm really banging on about this, so I apologize. But if there's anything that you want to refer to that you haven't quite grasped, or there's a lot of information that's kind of come to you over the last couple of weeks, everything that you need to know is included here. So we'll make sure we share these with you. And this one at the bottom, the Core Text Advanced Reader Student User Guide, as I said, that will be with you in the next couple of days, and you can feel free to share that with anybody you think that needs to see it. Obviously your students, but if academics also need to see it, that will be with you very, very soon. Okay, well, it looks like questions have gone quiet, so I will leave you all to your days. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and to listen. I know that I feel like we've kind of been saying the same thing for a long time, but we're so close now to launch. So fingers crossed everything goes well on the 16th. And if you need anything from us in that time, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks a lot.